I was just talking to Karen saying, boy, I don't know if their students are scared of you or what, but they're pretty quiet right now. Some of you asked me that you've seen her before, so some of you seniors, do you remember Karen speaking on digital?
Was I here or was I in Cook?
Is that your freshman year?
8th grade. I thought it had been 4 years since I was here when I
It was
looked.
8th grade year. Oh, so it was our 8th grade year.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first time any high school students have heard her. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read this whole biography about Karen. I just want to read a little bit so you understand who you're dealing with and who's speaking to you. But Karen Haase is a principal in the Lincoln law firm, which is called KSB School Law, where she practices exclusively in the area of education law. Ms. Haase is licensed to practice law in Nebraska, Iowa, and Wyoming. She frequently presents in-services to students and staffs and speaks to all manners of education groups. Let's please give Ms. Karen Haase a warm welcome, please.
Thank you. Now, it always makes me laugh when people like Mr. Lester make you clap for me before I talk. What if I suck? Won't you be sorry you clap? No, you don't care as long as you're at a class on a Wednesday, it's all good, yeah? So my name is Karen Haase. If you remember me from juniors and seniors, like when you were in Cook, in middle school, you can call me Karen, right? I'm not a teacher or anything like that. All I do as an attorney is represent public school districts, including Johnson County Central, so go Thunderbirds, yeah? So you are probably saying to yourself, look, I'm totally cool with getting out of class on a Wednesday, and I remember this lady was sort of funny last time she was here, but why does the school keep dragging a lawyer from Lincoln down to Tecumseh to talk to kids at JCC about digital citizenship? Let me tell you, I did not become a school attorney because I hate kids. I actually like kids, even though I have kids. Thank you. In all seriousness, I do enjoy working with students, and student discipline, kicking kids out of school, is actually one of my least favorite parts of my job. I do not enjoy student discipline hearings. I do not particularly enjoy going to juvenile court. I really don't like it when your mom calls me crying, you know? And those are the kinds of things I spend a ton of my time with, dealing with kids who've made bad decisions online. So I want to talk to you really about the basic consequences I see Nebraska kids facing when they make bad decisions online. And I think those consequences fall into 4 broad categories. First, I want to talk about school-based consequences. Secondly, I want to talk about civil litigation. Thirdly, I want to talk about criminal prosecution and the 3 main areas where I see high school students being prosecuted criminally. And then the last thing I want to talk about is predators and basic internet safety. Now, I understand that you guys aren't like the middle schoolers that I just talked to in Cook. If you get a DM from some rando that says, meet me at the gas station at midnight and wear something sexy, you're not saying, okay, right? Middle schoolers might, you know? But I want to talk about the ways in which I see high school kids specifically getting targeted, all right? So first things first, I want to talk about school-based consequences. This is where I get to tell you that school law, the laws that govern education, are completely jacked up. And I'm going to prove it to you. Let's say that you do something stupid today that gets you in trouble, and Mr. Lester says, you have a choice. You can either get kicked out of school and not be able to come to school tomorrow, or you can come to school tomorrow and get that sweet, sweet education that you all want, right? But you have to sit out and miss the first basketball game of the season, or the first wrestling meet of the season, or the first speech contest of the season. You have to miss an event coming up. How many of you are going to miss school and not miss this sporting event? Tell the truth, right? Yeah. And how many of you are like, no, I would totally miss the event, but come to school? Like one gunner, right? Yeah. For the most part, kids would rather be able to participate in the sport or the concert or whatever, and would give up the school activity, or give up the day of school. The reason I say school law is jacked up is, as a school lawyer, it's much easier for me to pull extracurriculars than it is for me to pull being in school. Neither one of them are all that hard for me, but the extracurricular activities are a privilege, not a right. So let's start with sports and activities. I love that every time. We'll watch it one more time just because I like seeing Jay Cutler look like a dork. There you go. Let's start by talking about this case. This is one of my favorite cases from last school year. It's a cheerleader case, so you know it has lots of good girl drama, yes? High school cheerleaders have been to an away basketball game. They're not riding with the team, they're like in a van where it's just the cheerleaders. And they stop at a quick shop on the way home, and the girls go in and get, Gatorade and beef jerky, whatever. And there's 3 girls in the bathroom, 2 seniors and a junior. One of the seniors and one of the junior are standing at the sink washing their hands. And another senior girl is behind them, and she has her phone out, and she's got Snapchat open. And the 2 girls at the sink do this, right? And while they do that, they're flipping up the back of their cheerleading skirts. And so the picture that the senior girl puts on her Snapchat story is basically these 2 cheerleaders showing their butts, wearing those super attractive cheerleader briefs that come with the uniform. You know what I'm talking about, right? So they're not naked or anything, it's the cheerleader briefs, but so that's when it gets a picture of their butts that gets put on this girl's Snapchat story. Next thing that happens is this Snapchat account called Weekend Schemers picks up this picture. Have any of you heard of Weekend Schemers? No. I had not heard of it before this case. The judge says, well, Weekend Schemers maintains a Snapchat account that posts pictures provided by third parties, bills itself as the authority on college life, partying, and most importantly, scheming. Most of the pictures on this account are girls' butts, right? Naked butts, underwear butts, swimsuit butts, and in this case, 2 cheerleader butts, okay? School finds out that this picture of these 2 girls wearing their cheerleading uniform has appeared on the Weekend Schemers account, and the school imposes consequences. 3 girls involved, only the junior matters, and I'll show you here in a minute. So all 3 students were given 3 days of in-school suspension. Do they care about that? No. Not really. They also were told that they weren't allowed to be on the cheerleading squad for the rest of the year. This happened late. Is that going to go again, in 3 minutes? Okay, you going to warn me? It's late in the basketball season. Do you guys send your cheerleaders to track meets? No, this school doesn't either, so they don't really care that they're off the cheer squad because it's basically all over. But they also say that you can't be on the cheer team next year. See why the junior is the one that freaked out, right? So the junior girl's mom gets a lawyer, sues the school, and raises 3 arguments saying that the school district could not punish this girl for being in this picture flipping up her cheer skirt. First argument is this, and I've actually had Nebraska families argue exactly this in a bunch of different cases. The lawyer says, I have looked at the school handbook. I have read the student handbook from beginning to end, and nowhere in there does it say no butt selfies. And if you don't have it in the handbook, you can't punish her for it. Take 30 seconds, talk to the person next to you. Can the school punish her for this picture of her butt, even if the handbook does not say no butt pictures? Ready, go. Come back to me in 3, 2, 1. How many of you say, yep, if it's not in the handbook, they can't punish her for it? That wouldn't be fair. Be brave. That's a good legal position to take. How many of you say, nope, they can kick her out even if it's not in the handbook? Kick her off the cheer team. No? You agree with him? You're just too chicken to raise your hands? That's how you are? I see. Here's what the judge said. The judge said, if you were trying to kick her out of school, you would have had to list the kinds of misconduct that can get you kicked out of school, but they're not kicking her out of school. What are they kicking her out of? Cheerleading. And the judge says cheerleading is a way different thing. And at the beginning of their extracurricular code of conduct, there's a little statement in the handbook that says something like, students who represent the school off campus must always do so in a way that makes the school look good. And the judge was like, that's pretty generic. If you were trying to kick her out of school for that, I wouldn't be okay. But that is enough of a statement to say that the school could punish her by kicking her off the cheer team but for doing this, even though it's not specifically an anti-butt picture. What? Bell? Liar. Not ringing. No. No.
Oh my God.
All right, so that's the first argument. Her second argument's a little better. Second argument, the lawyer says, she has a First Amendment right to free expression, and you can't punish her for that. Now, does she have a right to go to the lake and take a picture of herself in her swimsuit? Could they kick her off the cheer squad for that? Even though she doesn't have a right, even with the fact that it's just the cheer squad, could they kick her off? I don't think so. I think it would violate her First Amendment rights. So take 30 seconds. What do you think about this argument in terms of the Snapchat picture? Are they violating her First Amendment rights by kicking her off the squad? Ready, go. All right, come back to me in 3, 2, 1. How many of you think she wins this one? This sounds like a good argument. She's got a First Amendment right to free expression. She should not be punished for that. Yeah? Yeah. All right? Hands down. How many of you say no, they can probably punish her without violating the First Amendment? Those of you that think that, can you shout out why you think the school can punish her for this? She's wearing school uniform. It's exactly what the judge said. Judge said if she had just been in street clothes doing this, that it probably would violate her First Amendment right for them to kick her off the squad. But she is wearing the cheerleading uniform, right? And in fact, the picture's from the back, so you can't see like the Thunderbird or whatever's on the front. But they have, the mascot is like embroidered around the waistband of the cheer uniform. So they can see Thunderbirds in the uniform, and it's obvious what school she's from. And so the judge says the school has a right to control what you say while you're wearing the school uniform. Let me give you an example. Do I have the right tomorrow to come to school and eat lunch wearing a Trump 2020 t-shirt? Yes. Can I wear a t-shirt that says impeach Trump? Yes. Yeah? Can the school kick me out for that? No. Now, if I want to come out on the wrestling mat before my first wrestling meet and wear a Trump 2020 t-shirt, can the school tell me I can't do that? No. What? Why? I'm going to wrestle. My singlet has MAGA on it. I'm going to wrestle with a Trump singlet. Can I do that? No, why not? That's right, it's part of the uniform, bro. And if you are wearing any gear that only a student could wear, now we can punish you for that. I just had one come up just a couple weeks ago where a kid is wearing a marching band t-shirt. Now, it's not the marching band uniform, but it's that t-shirt that all the band members get before they go to contests so the teacher can like find them all. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or like your state champion, whatever. So only a student in band could have this t-shirt, and the kid is vaping off campus. Can we kick him out of the band for that? Yes. We can. Why? Wearing the t-shirt, right? So cheerleader loses this argument because she's wearing the cheer uniform. Judge says she has no First Amendment right to that. We have a bunch of these situations where kids are wearing some kind of school gear where they get in trouble even for something they did off campus. Her last argument is her best argument. Last argument is, this is sex discrimination. You wouldn't care if it was a bunch of football players in their tidy whities that did this, right? She says, you only punish me because I'm a girl. Take 30 seconds. What do you think about this argument? Come back to me. In 3, 2, 1. What do you think of this one?
No.
Why not? In order to win this claim, what does she have to prove? That a guy did it too. Now, guys do stupid stuff online, yes? But guys tend to do different kinds of stupid stuff than girls, yes? And so she couldn't find a guy. There is no picture of a guy going, wearing his underwear. And so the court said you couldn't prove it. Court said the family failed to present any evidence that a guy had done something similar and not gotten in trouble. Judge says student was not excluded from participating in cheerleading because she was a female. She was removed from the team because she posed for a photograph raising her cheerleading skirt, and that photo was posted on the internet, right? So she loses all of her claims, which is kind of entertaining to me because, again, drama, right? Humor. All right, so that's an example of extracurricular activities and the legal standards that apply to that. But let's talk about now getting kicked out of school or suspended or expelled from school. In Nebraska, we are permitted to punish kids for bullying, and I know you guys hear about bullying and cyberbullying a ton. Here is how we define bullying in Nebraska: an ongoing pattern of physical, verbal, or electronic abuse. Now, you may have heard news stories or read articles about some kid in some other state that was horribly picked on and targeted on Twitter or Snapchat, and the school didn't do anything. Understand that in Nebraska, we are able to punish bullying, even if it's electronic, if it creates what's called a material and substantial disruption. If it jacks things up at school, we are able to punish it. We are also able to punish when students take pictures of themselves and put it on social media of students engaging in any activity forbidden by Nebraska law, right? Which includes minors consuming alcohol. So, I mean, the number of kids that take pictures of themselves, playing beer pong just blows me away. The other thing, I want to take a little detour here. How old did you used to have to be in order for it to be okay for you to be able to possess a jewel? It used to be no minimum age. As long as you didn't have the tobacco, the nicotine pod, they couldn't cite you for just having a jewel. They changed that. How old do you have to be now? Now it's 18, right? So if you have a picture of yourself even holding a jewel, no, it used to be 19 for the tobacco. They have now taken it and divvied it up and said, anybody who possesses a nicotine delivery device, you have to be at least 18 to possess that. I know 19 is the age of majority. Why do they have all the different rules different? I don't know, because they're stupid, right? But the rules are different for possessing a jewel than for possessing tobacco. So what are the consequences that the school district can impose? I already told you, easiest thing for me, my go-to is loss of extracurricular privileges. No big surprise, you can get a suspension for this. Short-term suspension, we kick you out of school for up to 5 days. Long-term suspension, we kick you out of school for up to 19 days. What does your algebra grade or math grade look like after 19 days out? Mm-hmm. Like it looks now, somebody says. If this misconduct is significant enough, we can do expulsion. In Nebraska, expulsion is getting kicked out for a semester, so it would be probably out until after Christmas break. One of my other go-to consequences is what's called an alternative school assignment. The idea there is that Mr. Lester says, you know what, if you can't be nice to the kids at Johnson County Central, you won't be a Thunderbird anymore. We'll make you go to Johnson Brock. Ugh. Let me show you this case to show you how this works in real life. What do you guys call it here, a Sinsta or a Finsta? A Sinsta? This is a kid with whatever you call that second Instagram account that you have that you don't want everybody to see. His Instagram account that he's operating is explicitly racist. So he has a whole bunch of explicitly racist material. He posts a picture of what he calls a KKK starter pack. He has a historical picture of an Anglo-American slave owner beating an African-American slave. He takes pictures of students that he goes to school with and of teachers that work at the school who are African American, and he puts a noose around their necks or a gun pointing at their heads. Now, this guy was very careful about who he let follow the account. Only 10 total followers. But of course, once he posts pictures of other kids, people start talking, right? And the kids who are in these pictures find out that they have been depicted in this way. First thing this kid does is he deletes the account. Does that save him? No. Over and over again, I see kids like, oh crap, they found out, and delete the account as if you think that's going to save you. Where am I going to go to get copies of these pictures? Instagram. Instagram keeps everything, but sometimes I don't have to go to Instagram because what do you guys do when somebody posts something out? You screenshot it, right? So don't be thinking that deleting the account gets rid of the evidence. It really doesn't. So kid deletes the account. School district still finds out it was him. School district expels him, right? Does that surprise you? No. School district then either suspends or expels every single kid who followed the account. One of the kids, and this is Shin, the kid that this lawsuit is about, all he did was he posted here, after this picture, he posted one comment, bruh, B-R-U-H. Take 30 seconds, talk to the person next to you. What does that mean? Come back to me in 3, 2, 1. Somebody put up your hand. I want one person to give me an explanation of what they think bruh means. Yes. WTH. Let's make it WTH, right? What the heck? What are you thinking? Bruh. Dude. What the heck? All right, that's one. Anybody have a different explanation for what bruh means? Yes. Bro, seriously? Are you going to do this? You're going to go there? What else? Why? What else? Whoa, cool, awesome, I'm down, right? Up there. What? Like what? I just can't hear you. That's cool, that's right. That's exactly what the fight was about. The kid goes to court and says to the judge, I should not be punished. I was like, bruh. And the judge said, but you could have meant, bruh, right? The judge said, and this is important, because a lot of the times, the stuff that you put online, your parents and grandparents have no clue what you really mean, do they? And the judge said, if you post something that could be taken in one of two ways, the school is entitled to assume the worst. And so when you post something like, bruh, that is enough for us to assume that you are endorsing it. The judge also has really interesting wording in this opinion about what it means to push the little heart button on Instagram, right? The judge said, liking a post broadcasts the user's expression of agreement, approval, or enjoyment of the post, which I'm not sure is always true in the kids' minds. But the judge said, every post that you like, we will assume that it's just the same as if you posted it, upheld this student's discipline. Now, this kid also made a First Amendment argument. He said he had a First Amendment right to free speech, even if it meant, brah, that would be okay. Do you have a First Amendment right to be a racist?
No.
Maybe. I don't know.
Here's the truth. The First Amendment exists to protect unpopular speech. Do I think it's awesome that this kid is clearly a racist? No. Do I want to be this kid's friend? No. Does he deserve to be punished for holding those views? No, right? Now, does he have a First Amendment right to post a picture of one of the kids that goes to school with him with a gun to the kid's head? No. Do you see the difference, right? The judge said there's a connection, there's a nexus between the Instagram accounts and school, and it was reasonable for the school to predict that by posting this kind of thing, it would create a disruption at school. So even though you have a First Amendment right to hold unpopular opinions, you do not have a First Amendment right to post things that could cause a disruption at school. Make sense? Students found to be properly disciplined. All right, those are examples of school-based consequences. Second thing I want to talk about is civil litigation. Now, civil cases, thank you, Mr. Lester. Civil cases are where the person that you target sues you and your parents. Now, these cases are all about money. Nobody's going to jail in these cases. If your family owns a house, a farm, a car, a business, any kind of property, the insurance company that insures that stuff will pay for the lawyers to litigate the case. But these are defense-only policies, which means that if you lose the case, the insurance company won't pay the money judgment that you have to pay the person that you targeted. I want to show you this case to show you an example of how this works in real life. Taylor versus Franco is actually two college kids, but it could just as easily be high school kids. William Franco and Leona Taylor are dating, and while they are dating, Leona sends William a ton of nudes. I know. And he digs it, right? He's thinking this is awesome. He thinks she is so awesome that he goes to a jewelry store, buys a diamond ring, goes to Leona, gets down on one knee and says, "Leona, will you marry me?" And she says, "No, thank you. No, no." William is not a big fan of Leona's decision, so he takes all these nudes that she sent him, posts them on Twitter and on a bunch of different websites, along with her cell phone number and home address. She has a ton of people call her. She actually has randos show up at her house. She is not a big fan of this decision, so she sues this kid in federal district court for emotional distress, intentional infliction of emotional distress. I was so upset by this that you should have to pay me money. Now, at this point in time, you might be sitting there thinking, you know, this is cool, Karen, and you can talk about these kids in college or whatever. This would not happen to high school kids in Nebraska. Here's why I'm making such a big point about this. Starting September 1st of this year, Nebraska has a new law on the books called the Uniform Civil Remedies for Unauthorized Disclosure of Intimate Images Act, right? What this law says is, anytime someone has sent a nude, even if they sent it consensually, if the person that receives it reposts it, either shares it to other people, posts it to a website, even just flips the phone around and shows someone, that person can be sued for the actual damages, the emotional distress that the person suffered. That makes sense. But now what if you don't suffer a bunch of distress, you're just like sort of annoyed? The law says it will presume $10,000 in damages per defendant per incident of sharing. And if you have to hire a lawyer to sue the person to get this money, the law says you also can recover the cost of your attorney for suing this person. Do you see how a ticked off dad can use this to really inflict a lot of pain on the dirtbag ex-boyfriend that shared his daughter's pictures, right? Now, this case in Hawaii didn't have this law, but the judge did have Leona talking about how upset she was when William Taylor shared these pictures. Judge ordered damages to be paid by William to Leona. What amount do you think? $425,000. Now, when William was sued, he's in college. Does he have this kind of money? No, he has got nothing. When he was sued, his mom owns her own house. So his mom used the insurance money, the insurance policy on her house to get William a lawyer. Judge ordered mom to pay half of this amount out of mom's pocket. George ordered the rest of it to be garnished from all of William's paychecks for the rest of his life until this money is paid off. So we talked about school-based consequences. We talked about civil litigation. The third thing that I see happening to high school kids in Nebraska who make bad decisions online is they face criminal prosecution. And I want to start by talking about kids that are charged with making terroristic threats. This is the law in Nebraska that says no one can threaten to commit a crime of violence with the intent to terrorize another, with the intent of causing the evacuation of a public building, or acting in reckless disregard of causing such terror. I want to show you how this works in real life. Can I have the biggest, meanest wrestler that you have here at school? Someone brave. Is that? Oh man, oh come here. Come. Someone be brave. What's your name? Dalton? All right, stand right there. Everybody, now we're assuming that Dalton would not generally hit an old lady, yes? Right? But assume that Dalton is really ticked off for some reason, right? We've got beef. You ready here? If Dalton and I get into a fight, who's going to win for real? There is no doubt that Dalton could hurt me, right? Now, let's say that I think I'm going to be funny. So I whip out my phone tonight and I say, Dalton, tomorrow morning before school, I'm going to kick your butt. If you get that text from me, Dalton, are you afraid? Mr. Lester, would they call off school if I sent that text to Dalton? No. Do I really think I can scare Dalton in this situation? Have I committed a terroristic threat? Let's think like lawyers. Have I threatened to commit a crime of violence? Yes. Did I intend to scare Dalton? Yes. I'm going to say I'm just joking. Are they going to evacuate a public building? No. And have I actually caused terror? No. So far, so good, right? But tonight, Dalton goes home before he goes downstairs to play Madden? Yes. No? Dalton throws his phone on the table before he goes to do his homework because he's like a gunner, right? And Dalton's mom sees his phone sitting there, and Dalton's mom is like, dude, how can I send you a million text messages to nag you if your phone's not charged, right? So mom thinks she's doing Dalton a favor, connects his phone to power, and when she does that, my text shows up on the notifications. And mom says, oh, Dalty Walty. Who's being mean to the little Dalt? Now notice, I still did not intend to scare Dalton. I still did not cause the evacuation of a public building. I did not actually scare Dalton, but I can now be charged if mom calls the cops because I've acted in reckless disregard that I could scare who? Dalton's mom, right? That's how these cases get charged over and over and over again. Okay, thank you, Dalton. Woohoo! Yeah, sorry about that, Dalton. It's going to be a long day, Dalty Walty. Felony. In the last 15 years, there's been over a 200% increase in the number of kids being charged with terroristic threats, and the vast majority are situations where threats are made on cell phones, either in a text or a snap or something like that. These are all examples of cases I've worked on in the last couple of years where we've had kids who've made threats. I was going to tell you about Neely Oakdale. I'm going to tell you a different story. I'm going to tell you about a kid from Fremont. High school kid in Fremont, and I'm speaking to a student group just like you guys, and my phone keeps ringing and ringing. I keep hitting my watch to turn off the phone. Finally, I get done with the student group, and I go and pick up my messages, and I've got a call from the principal at Fremont High School. And he says, Karen, we have a social media situation. If you could call us as soon as possible, that'd be great. Kid has posted onto Snapchat a picture of himself holding a gun, and he says, you might not want to be at school today. Things are going to get hectic at Fremont High. And the principal says to me, is that a threat? Dude. Bruh, right? What is every school lawyer going to say? Yes, call the cops, right? So the principal calls the cops. Now, because of the way the timing worked, because I couldn't call him right away, by the time the cops got called, school was out for the day and the kid has already gone home. So the cops get what's called a no-knock warrant, which is where you can just, when you watch those reality shows and they bash the door in. So the cops get a no-knock warrant, go to this kid's house, bash in the door. Kid's like sitting in his living room playing whatever. And the cops like grab him and start zip tying his hands together. And the kid's like, wait, officer, it was just a joke. He says it wasn't even a real gun, it's an airsoft gun. It's sitting right over there. And the cops are like, thank you. They take the airsoft gun and put it in the evidence bag and use it against him, right? So kid is charged with first-degree felony terroristic threats and disturbing the peace, 2 charges. Mom and dad get a lawyer for the kid. The lawyer calls the county attorney. Kid is like, he's never really been in trouble, whatever. So the criminal defense lawyer's like, hey, Mr. County Attorney, drop the terroristic threats charge. He'll plead guilty to the disturbing the peace charge. It'll all be good. The problem is when you're charged with a felony, a judge has to approve a plea deal, right? So the prosecutor's like, yeah, that sounds good. They go in front of the judge. And the lawyer for the kid says, Your Honor, we've got this all worked out. The kid's going to plead to the disturbing charge and not the terroristic threats charge. And the judge says, no, the judge won't approve the plea. Judge says, I am sick of seeing these terroristic threats charges come across my docket and all of them get settled. It is time for kids to understand that they can't be playing around with this stuff. Judge says to the kid, plead right now, guilty, not guilty. Not guilty. All right, come back in 2 weeks, you'll have a trial. Eventually, the kid does plead guilty, and that's the last I hear of it. Now, obviously, he probably has some school-based consequences too. I can't tell you what they were, but you can guess, right? So, okay. Story's over. Next school year, I am speaking to Papillion La Vista South High School. It's an enormous gymnasium full of kids just like you guys. And I'm telling this Fremont story. And the kids, it's just exactly like these two that are fighting over the phone, right? It's people that are like, everybody's turning around and looking at this kid. And I'm like, dude, why are they looking at you? What's the deal? And the kid is finally like, that's me. I was like, oh, God. Oh, dude, I'm so, like, I try to only tell stories that are, like, not close, you know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I did not know you were in Omaha now. Wow. And his folks are divorced, and, like, after the big drama in Fremont, he just moved to live with his dad. And I'm like, well, geez, sorry, did I get any of the details wrong? He's like, no, that's exactly what happened. He, eventually, so I knew he'd pled. Eventually, the judge sentenced him to probation until he's 19 years old, and judge sentenced him to 10 days in jail. When the kid is moving to South, I can't remember if he runs cross country or football. He plays some sport. So they said to the judge, can he do his jail time sometime that won't interfere with his sport? And the judge said yes. Kid did 10 days in jail over Christmas. Here's why I tell you this story. Judges, police officers, lawyers, they are sick of this, right? They are sick of people joking about it. This is not funny to adults. Freaked out moms are super scared about school safety, right? Do not be joking about Columbine or Parkland or any of that kind of stuff because there are judges out there that are not willing to even accept a plea deal if you work out something to do different. All right, so I told you there's a couple of different sets of criminal laws that kids get charged under. First is terroristic threats. Second are the sexting statutes. So there's this exchange. Marcus says to Denise, send me pic of you in bra. And she says, okay. And then she sends this. I do think this is funny, and I also know that way more kids are engaged in exchanging nudes, especially on Snapchat, than most adults know. Most adults would completely freak if they knew how often this happens. Here's the deal, though, guys. I respect you too much not to tell you the truth. These cases get prosecuted. In Nebraska, nationally, about 62% of county attorneys have charged a minor in a sexting offense. About 73% of county attorneys in Nebraska have charged a minor. We are charging minors and adults at about the same clip. Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, fine, I understand why you're talking to high school kids about sexting. That's a little bit weird, but whatever. You didn't talk to the middle schoolers about it, did you? Yeah, I did. Youngest kid I've had prosecuted, you want to guess how old he was?
12.
10. Now, you all just turned to the person next to you and you said one of two things. One, ew, or two, you said, 10, what do they have to show? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. That grossed out, weirded out, oh my God, where are their parents kind of feeling you had when I said 10, that is how judges and lawyers and adults feel when they find out about high schoolers sexting. I'm not saying they're right. I think most adults have completely forgotten what it's like to be in high school, honestly. But understanding that emotional reaction, I think, should help you understand how the criminal laws are set up. So they just amended these statutes on September 1st. In Nebraska, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly publish, direct, or create any nude of a minor. Here's what they've added, other than the defendant, right? It used to be if you took a picture of yourself in the bathroom and once you hit the picture button, done, you'd committed a felony. What they've done now is they've created an off-ramp. Right? You take that picture, before you hit send on Snapchat, before you hit the blue arrow, you now have a chance to think, this is really stupid, probably I should delete this, right? If all you've done is take a picture of yourself, it is no longer a felony, which I think is fair. It is unlawful for anyone to distribute nudes of minors. Sometimes kids think that if they're using Snapchat, that is going to be the safe way to exchange nudes. Is it true that snaps really disappear? No. This is a case where there was a group of people, and it was guys, mostly it was guys entertaining themselves to see how many girls they could get to share nudes. So the guys would get the girls to send nudes, and then they would share it with this group. One of the kids in the Snapchat group never asked anybody for nudes. He never shared any nudes, but he was in the group, so he opened the pictures as they came across. Once the county attorney found out about this, she charged all of the boys in the group, and the kid who had done nothing, like he hadn't asked, you know how you get added to those annoying Snapchat groups, right? He's like, I didn't ask to be part of this. I didn't actively participate. All I did was, hit the red box when the snap came through. I didn't even really know what was in the pictures. I should not be prosecuted. What do you think? The prosecutor said, maybe you wouldn't have been charged if you had taken steps to report when you opened it, or if you would have taken steps to get out of the group. But you can't just passively sit by and open nude after nude after nude and think that you're not going to get in trouble. This story is why I tell guys all the time, if your girlfriend is sending you nudes, you are not lucky. You are in legal jeopardy. Because the adults are assuming that you're going to do something, take some kind of step to make that stop, even if you don't immediately call the cops. Just another example of snaps getting charged for snaps. Even if you haven't asked for the nudes, even if you didn't take them, even if you didn't share them, it is unlawful for anyone to possess a nude. Now, if you open a snap, and the picture, after 10 seconds, or if they've got it set to infinity, you close it. Once the image is gone, is that image still resident on your phone? If the cops can get a hold of your phone, the digital forensics will show that it continues to exist, which means that you are guilty of possession of child pornography even after the snap has cleared. Does that make sense? It is illegal to share nudes of anyone without their consent. This is another new law on the books. Let's say you're dating a guy who's 20 and he sends you a nude. Is that a crime under the child pornography laws? No, because he's 20, right? Is it okay for you to share that picture? No. This law now says very clearly, no, you can't share nudes of anyone no matter how old they are. Most kids don't realize this. It is also illegal to even ask someone for nudes. Under Nebraska law, it is considered child abuse to cause or permit a minor child, what is a minor child, how old? Under 19, that's right, to be placed in a situation to be sexually exploited by allowing or encouraging the minor child to engage in pornographic photography. Why do I make such a big deal about this? Because of this last bullet point on the slide. Everyone who works for a school is obligated to contact the police if they know of child abuse. That means, where's Marcus? This is funny to me, but if a teacher sees this text exchange between Marcus and Denise, what does the teacher have to do? They got to call the cops. That's exactly right. They've got to call the cops because it's considered child abuse. Now, sometimes I'll have high school kids say to me, you know what, Karen? I don't care if everybody sees my nudes. Lucky them. If that is you, I want to spend just a minute talking about what it really is like to be prosecuted in one of these sexting cases. And to do that, I want to show you this case, State versus Sims. Sims is a 17-year-old kid. He's got a girlfriend. He sends his girlfriend some junk mail. Thank you, thank you. Sends this picture to his girlfriend, right?
Oh, I get it now.
Uh-huh. Good to have you coming along with us. Girlfriend lives with her aunt. Aunt sees the picture. Aunt calls the cops, okay? Kid is charged with 2 felony counts for manufacturing and possessing child pornography. Who did he take the picture of? Himself, but it's still the manufacture and possession of child pornography, okay? So, kid's parents get him a lawyer. And the lawyer goes in front of the judge and says, Your Honor, this charge should be dismissed because they cannot prove that it is my client in this photograph. Because the picture is a close-up Richard portrait. So the police get a search warrant. The search warrant says, kid must present himself at the police station at thus and so a time. And he shows up with his mom. They take him and his mom back to an interview room. In the interview room, they have a camera set up on a tripod. Make the kid jump up on the table in the interview room. Make him drop trowel and take pictures. That's not the bad part. That's not the bad part. You have a question. Is your question, how can the cops do that? Isn't that child pornography? How can the cops do that? How is that not child pornography? They have a search warrant. That's how the police can do it, because they have a search warrant. I usually have one of 2 questions at this point. That is the most common question. There's usually another question that nobody's brave enough to ask, but I will answer it for you even if you haven't asked it. The problem with the pictures that the police took is that everything is not in, how shall we say, exactly the same condition in the 2 pictures. So the police get a second warrant. The search warrant requires this student to take certain medications, and after taking that medication to come back to the police department for another round of pictures. At this point, the kid says, I'm guilty. That's it, I'm not doing it, right? There is nobody. I am the most self-confident person in the world. I have never been involved in one of these cases where the kid was prosecuted, where the kid didn't end up completely humiliated. I am telling you, if you get prosecuted in one of these cases, they take that picture, they print it on a color printer. They put an exhibit sticker on it. They show it to the judge, they show it to me, they show it to your mom, they show it to the other kid's mom. It's everywhere, right? There is no one that looks good with a news with an exhibit sticker on it. I'm just telling you, I don't care who you are. This kid, after he pled guilty, judge put him on probation until he's on probation until he's like 30, way past the age of majority. He's also a registered sex offender while he's on probation. So, talked about consequences at school, talked about civil litigation, talked about criminal prosecution. The third thing that I see kids facing in terms of consequences for making bad decisions online is being victimized by predators. Now again, I understand you are not little kids, right? You are not like the middle schoolers I just talked to. You are not stupid in how you interact with people. But I still see high school kids being victimized by a real specific type of predator, and I want to tell you about it by talking to you about this case, Wisconsin versus Stansel. Wisconsin versus Stansel involves a case where the kid Stansel is a high school student. High school kid makes social media accounts as if he's a girl, right? Gives pictures of a really good-looking girl to be his profile picture and to post. And he has her reach out and friend a bunch of the kids he goes to high school with. So they talk back and forth, and eventually he has her say to the guys, you know, it would be really sexy if you sent me some pictures. And the guys are like, man, she's been looking and she wants me, this is awesome. So they all send pictures, right? He then uses those pictures to blackmail the guys into doing stuff they didn't want to do with him. Oh! Come back to me. In 3, 2, 1. Now, y'all just said two things to the people next to you. One, you said, oh, I did not need to know that, right? And you said something like this. Dude, I don't care what kind of pictures you got of me, man. I'll punch him in the throat. I'm not doing anything with some dude, right? Look at this. 31 victims. These were not stupid kids, right? The reason this guy was so effective in manipulating the students he targeted is because he knew them, right? If I know that your big thing is wrestling and I can say, you know, I've got these pictures of you and I'm going to show it to your wrestling coach. If I know your thing is FFA and I can say, well, you know, gosh, I don't think you'd be able to be in the FFA shop. You can't be an officer in FFA if you've done this stuff. If I know that your parents are super religious, do you see what I'm saying? Because this kid knew the students he was blackmailing, he was able to be way more effective in blackmailing them than he could have otherwise. And the reason he sounded like a high school student before they found out who he really was why? He's a high school student, right? Over and over again, I see high school kids getting targeted either by other high school kids or other people that are really close in age to you. And they're not the old creepy dude in the creeper van, right? It's somebody that looks and sounds a lot like you, and that's how they're going to trick you. This kid then took photos of all these physical encounters, and then used those pictures to blackmail the kids into doing the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Only way this kid was caught, these kids were totally humiliated, they didn't want to tell anybody. The way this kid was caught is someone called a bomb threat into the school. And the police were interviewing all the kids about who called them the bomb threat. And when they got to Philip Stansel, they were like, you seem a little bit off. So they got a search warrant for his computer and they found all these pictures, and that's how it all came undone. He is out of prison just getting out of prison soon, I think now or next month. So be careful when Wisconsin comes to town. All right, here's the thing. I do not believe that for the most part, high school kids need an outsider to come in here and tell you how to handle your business. Although I have told you some of the legal things that surprise you, not a single thing I told you today is something that you were like, man, I thought it was perfectly fine to take a picture of my Johnson, right? I need you to understand that as students who exhibit leadership about the digital community that you're in, you are the ones that I rely on to set the tone. It's not Mr. Lester, it's not Dr. Bolt. It's you guys yourselves that set the tone for what it's like to be a student at JCC. And you set the tone both in person and online, right? I'd love a few minutes for questions. I do always include my contact information. If you've got a question that you don't want to ask in front of everybody, I'm perfectly cool with you sending it via Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. I do want to warn you. I actually use this stuff, right? I was sitting in the parking lot one day, and you know how you start the Snapchat stories and they just kind of roll? So I'm just watching Facebook or Snapchat stories, and a kid is taking a picture of another kid, and across the front of it he's written F-A-G. You know what I did? I screenshot it. I was not going to use it in a presentation at some point, right? So I get a message from this kid. Why you screenshot? I message back. Why you call your friend back? Who is Dis? Dis is that lawyer who was at your school. Oh crap, right? So I am happy to interact with you online. I'm happy to answer your questions, but do understand if you do something stupid, I'm like totally calling you out on it, right? I mean, I don't want to lie to you. Having said that, anybody have a question they're brave enough to ask right now? No. All right, you gonna take a picture with me? Yes. Remember I do this little stick where I take a picture? All right, I'm gonna take it this direction if you don't want to be in it, duck down.